Hello students, welcome to the third lecture of the essay by A.G. Gardiner entitled The Rule of the Road. So before we go to the next part of our essay, let us have a quick recap of the previous lecture. In the previous lecture we saw that liberty is crucial to social living, that individual liberty can sometimes lead to social anarchy. Liberty is not a personal asset but a social contract. It is rules that ensure the preservation of liberty and social order, and that not all forms of liberty prove to be a hindrance to social order. There are different spaces, different actions that we do which do not form a hazard or do not trouble the interest of other people living in the society. For example, our habits, our dressing style, our food habits, right? But then there are certain other actions which can directly make a difference, which can directly interrupt the social life of other people who are also as much a part and parcel of the society as much as ourselves. Okay, so once we step out of that space of personal liberty, once we are into the society, once we are in the presence of other people in the society, our liberty, our individual liberty, that is limited. Okay, that is restricted. So therefore the author writes here that in all these and 1,000 other details, you and I please ourselves and ask no one's leaves. We have a whole kingdom in which we rule alone, can do what we choose, be wise or ridiculous, easy or harsh, conventional or odd. But directly we step out of that kingdom, our personal liberty of action is restricted by other people's liberty. So do you understand what the author is saying here? It is like a line which we are not supposed to cross. You might have noticed that there are certain places where it has been marked, do not cross the or do not trespass the area. That means what? We don't have the liberty to enter that field or that kingdom or that place. Outside that place we can move about freely, but not inside that line, right? So that means the author is saying that as far as you are inside your house, as far as there are certain personal actions which do not trouble or which do not make a difference to the society, you are free. You are the sole king in that kingdom of personal choices and habits. But once you step out, once you move out of that kingdom, if you do something that involves the society, yes, your personal liberty, that has to be restricted, that has to be limited. And what was that word? Curtailed. Curtailed means restricted. Okay, because when we are out of that personal kingdom of liberty, our personal or individual liberty, that greatly determines how other people are able to use their liberty or not. Just like that old woman, I suppose you remember the example, how the old woman's use of, or rather misuse of, individual liberty had caused panic in the traffic. Cars coming to a halt, policemen running after her, asking her to not walk in the middle of the street. Isn't that so? So this is what is meant. Just like we have a set of rules on the road, so also in social living, if we consider the road to be our society, then yes, there are certain unseen, unmentioned rules we have to follow, and these rules call for the limitation or restriction of our rights as well as liberties. Okay, so we cannot cross that particular border. Okay, I suppose you understand this much. Now, one person, John Stuart Mill, I suppose you all have heard about him. He had said that liberty consists in doing what one desires. Okay, whatever one feels like, whatever one loves to do. If that person or if that individual is free enough to do whatever he likes, only then we can understand that that man or that person has liberty. But then, is it completely true, or can this definition be completely accepted? I think no, because there are other people like Billy Sunday who give us the actual answer that personal liberty is not personal license. It is not something that is private. It doesn't give us that license, the authority to make use of liberty at large. We can use liberty, but on restricted terms, right? So that is why the author, once again, he tells us that there are thousands of choices where we all can enjoy our share of liberty, but there are certain actions which call for restriction of our liberty. All right. Next, to set an example, I told you that our author Gardiner, he gives a lot of examples, anecdotes. So here also again he is giving an example that I might like to practice on the trombone from midnight till 3 in the morning. If I went on to the top of Halvelle to do it, I could please myself. But if I do it out in the streets, the neighbors will remind me that my liberty to blow the trombone interferes with their liberty to sleep in quiet. So, what is the author saying here? Suppose the author himself, or maybe any other person, you or me, we might love to play on the trombone. Now, what is a trombone? Trombone, I suppose you have seen, there is an image that I have shared. It's a pipe organ, musical instrument. Okay, and the sound, it is very loud. Okay, loud in the sense that it is sometimes disrupting and you can't tolerate. It's not something like a flute. Okay, it is very harsh in sound, and that is why you cannot play it whenever or wherever you feel like. But it doesn't matter if you are on the top of Halvelle. Now, what is Halvelle? Halvelle, it is situated in United Kingdom in the Lake District. That particular district where great poets, the romantic poets like Samuel Taylor Coleridge and William Wordsworth, along with his sister Dorothy Wordsworth, they used to visit a lot. Okay, and this Lake District, it is known for its scenic locations, very beautiful place and very isolated in the sense that it is very far away from the humdrum or the busy streets of London, right? So suppose you are willing to play a trombone, you are free to play it if you are on an isolated place like the Mount Halvelle. or any other place that is cut off from the society. That is what the author is trying to say. Yes, you have the right, you have the liberty to practice the trombone whenever you like, from midnight till 3 in the morning. Generally we don't do that, but then he says yes, you are free to do that, but not everywhere, not where your neighbors are residing, not in your colony, not in your flat. It should be in an isolated location, in a secluded location, where you won't find people, or where there is no chance of other people getting disturbed. Because suppose you do that, suppose you start doing it in the bedroom, even your family, that will object, because your family members, they also have their own choices, own liberty. And I think you have noticed a time he's talking about playing the trombone at midnight. What will happen if you do that? Neighbors will come out and beat you because you are making a nuisance in the society. Just like you have the liberty to play music, play the trombone, similarly your neighbors also have the right, also have that much of liberty to sleep at peace at night time. Night time is meant for sleeping at peace, right? So that is how, if you play the trombone in midnight, what would that do? That would make, or rather it would interfere with the liberty of your neighbors to sleep in quiet, and that is how your individual liberty might lead to social anarchy. So this is the second example, students. I suppose you understand, this is the second example, how and in what manner, by showing or highlighting or focusing on an example, Gardiner is constantly reminding us that yes, though liberty is a beautiful experience, it is very, very dangerous. It is a dangerous tool, and that's why liberty needs to be curtailed. It needs to be restricted. Okay. So there are a lot of people in the world, and I have to accommodate my liberty to their liberties. We are all liable to forget this, and unfortunately we are much more conscious of the imperfections of others in this respect than of our own. So this world, it is a big place, and it is meant not only for me and my family, but for the entire world. And here every person has his own share of space, has his own share of interest as well as liberty. So we should live in this world in such a way that we allow space to others as well. Okay, so he's talking about accommodation or adjustment. We have to adjust our interest in such a way that our interest, our personal liberties, it does not interfere other people's interest, other people's liberties. Okay, so that is why he's constantly reminding us that it is necessary, if you want to have social order in the society, it is necessary that I and you accommodate and adjust our liberties to others. But unfortunately, he says, it's a sorry thing that we all are prone to forget this fact. Okay, and if such an issue arises, we would be constantly blaming the other person rather than looking into our own mistakes. And I think you know that very well, that there are a lot of people in this world who are busy pointing fingers at others. It is his mistake, it is her mistake. But we must always remember one thing, my dear students, that when we point one finger towards others, the rest of the fingers, they are constantly pointing towards us, right? So this is a very lovely example that the author has provided us. Okay, so let us move to the next paragraph. Again, here he is giving a personal example, a personal experience. His experience of having traveled in a railway carriage, and what was his experience like? He had come across a very strange man, and how this experience teaches him that very often people tend to forget about the liberties of others. Okay, and what is he saying? Let us see here. I got into the railway carriage at a country station the other morning and settled down. Settled down means he has sat down, making space and very comfortably, for what the school boys would call an hour's swat at a blue book. See, he has got inside a railway carriage. Okay, he boarded a railway carriage, and in the railway carriage or a railway coach, he sat down. It was about some morning. He doesn't say specifically which particular morning he had got into that railway carriage, but he remembers having got inside a railway carriage, and while he was sitting down and trying to do some hard work, he's talking about an hour's swat. Just like the school boys work hard, similarly he was also trying to work hard on what? A blue book. Now, according to Google, or if you check the encyclopedia, you would find that the blue book, it is a book comprising a report bound in blue cover, which is issued by Parliament or the Privy Council. And historically, it is generally used in US. Okay, in the second meaning, it is an official book listing government officials. But here, the blue book that the author refers to, it comprised of the law of the land. Okay, every county means a specific district. Okay, in UK it is called county. So every county has its own set of rules and regulations. Okay, so the book comprised of that important information, and he was not reading any kind of novel or any kind of interesting magazine. What he was trying to do is he was working on a very boring and a very serious topic, a serious book, a blue book. Okay, and he calls it a SWOT. SWOT means when you study something assiduously or seriously, that is called SWOT. Okay, and he was our author. He was trying to work hard on the blue book. He was doing some serious study with the blue book. I was not reading it for pleasure. The truth is that I never do read blue books for pleasure. I read them for the very humble purpose of turning an honest penny out of them. Now, if you are reading a book for pleasure, it does not matter what is going on around you. Okay, so reading a blue book is not a pleasurable experience. Okay, and our author, he was studying that or going through that blue book very seriously. And there was a reason why he was actually studying or going through that blue book so seriously. And the reason is very, very specific. He was trying to turn an honest penny out of these information that he found in the blue book. See, I have told you that Gardiner, he was a journalist and a writer, and his income or his earning, his livelihood, it depended on his writings. So his way of earning the money was a very honest and also a tough challenge. So here I have also provided you it is an idiom actually. turn or earn an honest penny. It is an idiom, English idiom, which means earning money for honest hard work. So here, sitting inside that railway carriage, our author, he was trying to do some hard work, which he calls a SWOT, labor, mental labor. And the reason is very simple. He wanted to earn some money. Maybe he would use the information in the blue book for some article or for some newspaper material, right? And that is why he says that I was not reading it for pleasure. If I would have been reading for pleasure, whatever happens around me, that is not going to matter much, right? But when you are reading a thing as a task, you need reasonable quiet. And that is what I did not get. For at the next station came a couple of men, one of whom talked to his friend for the rest of the journey in a loud and pompous voice. So our author had sat down to do some serious study, but that silence of that railway coach, it was broken. It was breached by whom? The moment the two passengers entered the coach in the next station, he could not continue with the study. Why? Because one of that passenger was talking in a very, very loud and boisterous voice. Pompous means boisterous, very proud and haughty manner. Okay, and he was like, blah, 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 talking. There seemed to be no end to his talks. It was as if this man knew everything, almost everything. Okay, he was talking about this and talking about that, as if he is on the top of the world and no one is superior to him. So as if he was trying to give some knowledge to the other people, as if it was a matter of pride for him to talk about all these various issues which were neither linked to one another nor had any connection with present day situation. Now, what are the things that this person was talking about? Let us see. As I wrestled with clauses and sections, his voice rose like a gale, and his family history, the deeds of his son in the war, and his criticisms of the generals and the politicians submerged my poor attempts to hang on to my job. While the author was trying to read the clauses, so the difficult thing in the blue book, I told you, the blue book is not a pleasurable reading. It is meant only for serious reading. So he was trying to understand the tough sections and clauses related with law, and it was a mental fight, a wrestling, okay, as he calls it. He was wrestling with the clauses and sections. The voice of the co-passenger, it rose like a gale. Now, what is a gale? It's a very strong wind. A wind which has the ability to uproot buildings, uproot trees, and even the most heaviest and toughest of thing. Now, the gale of the voice of this man's voice had submerged the attempts of our author to continue with the study. This man was talking so much that our poor author, he could not concentrate and focus on his reading of the blue book. And what does he do? I shut up the blue book, looked out of the window, and listened warily. Warily means he was almost exhausted. He tried to maybe press on his hands and look out of the window of that couch, while the voice thundered It was like a lightning bolt, thundering voice, on with themes like this. Now these are some of the topics that the man was discussing. Now what the French ought to have done, this is one part. The mistakes the Germans made. If only Asquith had, the sort of stuff. Now these are some of the topics that he was talking about, all very old stuff, uninteresting topic, and not related in any way to the present day circumstances. Now the author, he is a journalist, okay, and a journalist knows more. He had heard about world news from the beginning, and he knows all these. That's why maybe he is not interested to listen to this stuff. So he says, I had heard it all before, oh so often. It was like a barrel organ groaning out some uninteresting songs of long ago. The way he was talking with his, with a, boisterous voice, loud voice, he sounded almost like a thunder. He had first of all compared him with a gale, the voice. He says that the voice rose like a gale, a strong wind. Then he says it was like thunder, his voice thundered. And now he's making a comparison of the voice with a barrel organ. He calls it was like a barrel organ. What is a barrel organ? Actually, the barrel organ, it is a very old musical device that was formerly used by street musicians in London, in England, okay. And here you have the meaning of the barrel organ. It's a small pipe organ played by turning a handle which rotates a cylinder studded with pegs that open the valves to produce a preset tune. Okay, generally street players, while they perform on street, they use this kind of a musical organ, barrel organ, and the sound is very, very uncomfortable. So that is why the author, he was comparing the voice of this gentleman with a barrel organ. Now, if I had asked him to be good enough to talk in a lower tone, I dare say means I fear he would have thought I was a very rude fellow. Yes, it does happen. When you might have noticed, if something wrong is going on, if you, like a gentleman, you go forward and try to stop that, definitely you would be marked as an intruder, as an outsider. Okay, so similarly, the author, that's why he didn't try to stop this man from talking. Maybe he would think that this man is jealous of me, of my knowledge. That's why he preferred to keep silent, okay, and he didn't say anything, okay. Otherwise, the author would be considered to be a rude fellow, insolent fellow, okay. It did not occur to him that anybody could have anything better to do than to listen to him, and I have no doubt he left the carriage convinced means he was sure, very, very sure, that everybody in it had, thanks to him, had a very illuminating journey, a journey which was very, very profitable. So this fellow, he is so proud of his talent. He's so proud of his knowledge about history and politics and various other things, that he felt that after all this, lecture that he had given throughout his journey, even when he got out, he had no realization the great loss he had caused to the other people in the compartment. Okay, our author, he was trying to read something, he could not do that, and maybe there were more people around. Those people were also probably very disturbed, because there is a limitation to some things. Okay, you are free to talk, you are free to share knowledge, but to some extent. Okay, when you cross the limit, it becomes unbearable for other people who are beside you. So here, some way or the other, though this person did not know it, unknowingly he was breaching, he was trespassing other people's liberty. So once again, the author brings in the topic of how individual liberty can cause social anarchy. Okay, so here, some way or the other, the man, he fails to respect, he fails to have a consideration for the right and feeling of our author, and that's why he writes that a reasonable consideration for the rights or feelings of others is the foundation of social conduct. What is social conduct? Conduct means behavior, and social conduct essentially means how you behave in society. So after all this experience, the author, he comes to a conclusion that every individual who lives in society needs to understand that there should be a strong foundation of social conduct. You need to develop your base, your structure, your behavior, how to behave in society. And what is the foundation of the same? A reasonable consideration for what? For the rights and feelings of others. You need to understand that there are other people living in a society beside you, and they too have feelings, they too have emotions, they too have rights, liabilities and liberties, which are to be given equal space. You have to consider, you have to understand that these people share the equal space with you in the society, and as such they have an equal share in liberty as well. Okay, give respect, only then you will be able to earn respect. So what the author is saying is that if you are in society, you must learn to give respect to others' liberties as well. Only then social liberty or social order that is possible to be achieved. Right? So what are the things that we have come up in today's lecture? Let us have a quick recap. We have learned that we are free in society or free in the use of liberty, but to a certain limit. A limit which comprises the kingdom of personal choices. Secondly, we come to learn that our rights and liberties, they are limited by other people's liberties. We have to have 50-50 share of the liberty. Third, we come to know that we must all accommodate and adjust our liberties and interests. We cannot snatch off other people's liberties. We can do whatever we like, but not everything, right? And the last and most important thing, there is a foundation of social conduct. We should try to develop how we behave or conduct or approach in society, and how we can develop that by providing a reasonable consideration. We have to accept, we have to respect others' rights as well as liberties. So this is a brief sum up of today's lecture. I suppose this has been clear to you. In case if you have any doubts, you are free to call me and contact me. Thanks for watching the video till the end. Please subscribe if you like this video so that I can continue with more videos of the like. Thank you very much. See you next time.